On January 3, 2026, the United States launched a direct attack on Venezuela. Explosions were reported in Caracas. Military aircraft crossed the capital's skies, and a few hours later, the announcement came. President Nicolás Maduro had been captured and taken to U.S. territory. Hours after the attack, Donald Trump gave an interview and laid out the reasons for the operation. According to him, Nicolás Maduro was allegedly involved in drug trafficking. The Venezuelan regime posed a threat to U.S. national security, and the country's crisis was linked to increased migration toward the American border. These statements came to be treated as the official justification for the action. But these accusations were not new. They had been made for years. This raises a central question. If these arguments already existed, why did the United States decide to act precisely now? The answer begins to emerge when we look at Venezuela's strategic weight on the global stage. The country holds one of the largest oil reserves in the world. At a time of international energy instability, controlling energy sources has become a central issue of power and influence. For years, this oil remained beyond the direct reach of major U.S. companies, constrained by sanctions and by the control of the Chavista regime. After the attack, Donald Trump stated that the United States would temporarily assume the administration of Venezuela and that the country's oil sector would be opened to American companies. This statement completely shifts the focus of the discussion. If the operation's goal were solely to combat drugs or reduce migration, why would oil become a priority immediately after the military action? Analyses highlighted by the economic press point out that Venezuela's natural resources have always been a central factor in international interest in the country. Venezuelan oil is not only abundant, it is strategic. Control over it represents economic influence, geopolitical leverage, and bargaining power on the global stage. The attack was described as a large-scale operation. Explosions, power outages, and intense military activity marked the beginning of the action. Nicolás Maduro and his wife were captured and taken to the United States to face formal charges. The operation made it clear that this was not merely diplomatic pressure, but a concrete shift in control. The international reaction was immediate. The United Nations expressed concern about the legality of the operation and the risks of regional instability. Countries allied with Venezuela condemned the attack and spoke of a violation of sovereignty. In Latin America, reactions were divided, reflecting the political and symbolic weight of the episode. As the diplomatic debate unfolded, another question gained prominence. Who would decide the future of Venezuela's energy sector? In modern conflicts, public discourse often explains the narrative, but it is strategic interests that help explain the timing. The justifications presented by the United States explain how the operation was publicly defended. Oil helps explain why it happened now. In a world where energy means power, controlling one of the planet's largest reserves completely changes the balance of forces. And the final question remains. Was the attack on Venezuela merely an action against a specific government or a calculated move to redefine who controls one of the most valuable resources in the world?